Hi, I'm Dr. Melissa Lopez-Larson.
And I'm Laura Larson. And today we are going to talk about how to talk to your kids about the coronavirus. Tips for children.
Right. So the first step that I usually recommend if you want to engage in a conversation with your children about current world events and specifically the coronavirus is first start to set the stage. So you want to talk with them when they're in a good calm space, kind of not really super stressed out, not weepy, not irritated, not overly bored. And then you want to kind of engage them in an activity. And it should be an activity where you're both kind of able to kind of communicate and have a conversation. That could be anything from drawing to puzzles, to playing basketball or some kind of sports or building ramps for your car. So something that, or train sets, or something that you guys can actually sit down together and engage in, but that's not so engaging that you can't have a conversation.
So probably, steer clear of the TV or iPads or video games.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then once you kind of get they're kind of in a good space to have a conversation, then you kind of want to assess where they're at right now. How much do they know? Have they heard about the coronavirus? And kind of what is their understanding of why they're out of school right now? So those are the couple questions I might lead off on, because you really want to get a sense of what do they already know. Maybe they know a lot. Maybe they're not afraid of anything right now, or maybe they have a lot of worries and fears. But until you kind of know what their baseline is right now, it's hard to know what to do next. So simple questions. What is your understanding of why you're out of school right now? Have you heard about the coronavirus? What do you know about the coronavirus? How did you hear that? Was that from a teacher? Was that from your friends at school? Those are kind of the simple starting questions I would begin with.
Yeah, so it seems like fear would probably be the kids' biggest concerns.
Yeah, so I think the big things that kids are going to worry about is either a fear of getting sick themselves, or a fear of their parents getting sick, or a loved one getting sick, and then even potentially dying. And so that's kind of hard for them to talk about sometimes, but it can be a real fear, and it's kind of more of a fear that brings up feelings of being abandoned or alone. And so you really want to kind of nip that in the bud and let them know that you're going to be present. But just kind of working through those fears is an important first step. Once you've identified if they are afraid, and if so, what those fears are, you really do want to take some time to acknowledge them and provide some understanding. So you definitely want to validate their fears. So I understand I'm so sorry you feel so sad or you're scared. So totally normal. Sometimes mommies and daddies get scared and sad sometimes. So those are the things you want to kind of sit with them and say, I get it. What you're experiencing is totally normal, and make sure you do a lot of validating. Things I don't recommend, it would be saying like, oh yeah, things are gonna be fine, don't worry about it. Nobody's gonna die, don't worry about it. That's silly, everybody's gonna be fine. So that's kind of an example of ways to not validate their experiences, and then they'll feel like a little bit silly, or they may just kind of shut down, and they may be fearful of discussing their feelings and emotions with you in the future.
Okay. So, while providing information to our kids, we probably need to be honest.
Absolutely.
But while being honest, still be age appropriate and not overstress them.
Right.
With our own stress, projecting that onto them.
Yeah, and you have to remember, kids are sponges, and they will pick up information based on what you're talking about in the home. They can hear things from the news channels. They're getting information potentially from their friends, and they can really pick up on any tension or fears or worries in you. So you want to be a little bit cautious about how much you share with them. But on the other hand, you can't, I wouldn't say, I have no worries or fears when you're like running around frantic and actually are very fearful. So the first thing I would do is just acknowledge, like, what, Mom's a little scared right now, but I know everything is going to work out. But sometimes we all get scared about things, and just kind of acknowledge it on a basic level that we all worry, we all have fears. It gives them a space to also be able to articulate their own.
So what are some examples of providing information to our kids?
Yeah, so one of the things, if they're fearful, if they want to have a little bit more information, or if you just want to share some information, is saying, the coronavirus is a virus similar to the cold or the flu that we all get every year. It might make you feel like you got a headache or a cough, or you might have a fever, kind of like you've had in the past, because, we've all been sick before. And so just going to give them some basic understanding of what it causes for most people. You can let them know that it's kind of a new bug, and you can even give it a special name, like, I don't know, the corona mean guy, or
What Rick, it's the bad guy, or
the bad bug, the corona bad bug, or you can nickname it whatever you want, and just say it's a little bit different because it's a new one, so we don't know as much about it. And you can say, but scientists and doctors and really, really smart people are working hard to figure out and learn more about it so that we can make sure people don't get sick from it. And then just say, because they're working hard, and we want to give them some time to figure it out, which is why we're all kind of staying home and we're not hanging out or doing play dates right now, because we don't want to spread the germs until we know how to defeat it. Something like that. Yeah.
All right, so when we're talking to our kids, any suggestions for them to, maybe ask them how they can protect themselves?
Yeah. So, when you're talking about giving some information, just say, there are ways that you can prevent yourself from getting sick, and then help other people to not get sick. So you can talk to them about the importance of hand washing, which I'm sure you've already done, but just kind of reiterating that, making sure, reminding them not to touch their face, teach them about coughing and sneezing potentially in their sleeve, and then talking more about, it's a great time to talk about nutrition, the importance of nutrition, and how that helps, our warrior white blood cells inside of us keep us safe and keeps them healthy so they can fight, the bad guy, coronavirus that might come into our bodies. But just talking to them about just kind of normal things to help, keep our immune system up and running is a great place to kind of introduce this information. But again, age-appropriate information. Mm-hmm.
So we should definitely let our kids know that it's okay to worry, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
That we worry too.
Mm-hmm.
And what are some ideas about helping them to deal with those worries?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things you want to do is let them know that they can talk to you at any time. Make sure you keep an open door policy. Let them know that sometimes exercising can help them feel better. Playing games. Kids love, especially, younger kids between the age of, say, 6 and 10 or 12, they love good versus evil. You can pit, your white blood cell warriors against the coronavirus, germies, or you can give them a cute name, and then, play games around kind of defeating them. Your kid can play the role of the white cell warriors or something to that effect. You can have them draw and journal, and just kind of play around and make things fun for them. And it helps kind of get their worries out in a safe space, in a playful space is really kind of quite useful. Make sure they get involved with their friends, talk with their friends, whether it be on a Zoom call or a Skype call or some kind of interacting where they can still see their friends, talk to their friends, and kind of do some really healthy interactions that way. And I think those are kind of some of the basics that I would recommend to help them, in addition to just always having an open door policy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what, if we were talking to our daughter, right, and we ask her what's the best part about staying home right now,
Yeah. And so every negative situation, we want to be cautious about talking about the coronavirus and our social distancing, and always in a negative term. So I always like to say, so what are all the awesome things you want to do? You're going to be home for a couple weeks. We're all going to be home for a couple weeks. Let's do some fun things. And then when you do them, what has been your favorite part about not having to go to school? What do you want to do? Sleepovers? Do you want to do some baking? What kind of fun games you want to play? So reminding them that this is actually going to be a different time, but there can be some really fun things, and they'll be very excited to know that they're going to have more one-on-one time with you trust me, and I want you to utilize that to the best of your ability, and they will reap the benefits, as will you.
Yeah, so just kind of to recap on communicating with our kids, keep it age appropriate, keep it light,
Yeah.
yet honest.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think lastly, you know, as parents, you know, and I think we've been stressing this through our tips pretty regularly, is just focus on keeping yourself well, trying to reduce as much stress as you can for yourself, because when you're content and your stress levels are low, your kids' stress levels will be low. I mean, that's just how it works. They pick up on all of the worries and fears that we have, even though we're not talking about it openly, they can feel it. And so, you know, focusing on your own wellness and keeping yourself happy and healthy is one key step to keeping them stress-free. You want to model good coping strategies, whether it be exercise or diet or problem solving some situations. You can talk to them. Some of these kids, I mean, they have some amazing ideas on how to problem solve some difficult situations. So sharing some of that with them gives them a sense of purpose too, and it kind of going to be fun. And, you know, kids like to be the teachers of their parents. They like to be able to share, you know, their own ideas. So this is a great time to do that. You also want to make sure you kind of stick to a routine. And I know we've mentioned this before in talks, but try to keep some routine for your kids, because it's really stabilizing and grounding. Even if it's just getting up and going to bed at the same times and eating meals regularly, that in and of itself will provide a lot of stability for them. And lastly, I would say check in with your kids a couple times a week, once a week, whatever you feel is necessary. More if you feel like they're a little bit more stressed out, you know, more weepy, more clingy, more irritable, they complain a lot of boredom, you know, whatever. Check in with them a little bit more when they're expressing their feelings. And I think you'll be able to stay connected to how they're doing.
Yeah. Probably check in with the questions being open-ended.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it actually engages conversation and keeps that going.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so those are some of our tips on how to kind of talk with your children right now regarding, you know, the stressful situation, the coronavirus, and why they're out of school, and what they have not heard. And, you know, based on what they tell you, you can kind of take your lead from them and, you know, validate them, give them some good information that's age appropriate, and then help them manage their worries in some really good ways that are happy and healthy and safe. And you can do some role playing and some play work to help them kind of process some of the feelings they're having as well. So I think that ends our session for today, but thanks so much for joining us on our tips today on how to talk to your kids regarding the coronavirus. Let us know if you have any questions or concerns.
Yep. And remember, if you need help, ask for it. And if you're in a position to offer it, please do so.
Okay,
Thanks
thanks
guys.
so much.